Elzevir pointed the gun at Maskew's head, but at that moment some shots came from the cliff. Maskew fell over. He was dead. A shot from one of the soldiers had hit him in the head and killed him immediately. "Run to the side of the cliff and hide!" cried Elzevir. I started running, but I fell, and I felt a terrible pain in my leg. "I can't walk anymore," I said to Elzevir. He turned around, picked me up like a baby, and carried me away along the side of the cliff, while the soldiers continued shooting. Elzevir and I stopped when we were far from the soldiers. It was almost morning. Mr. Aiden.ir. "Can you stand up, John?" he asked. "Is your leg broken?" "I can't stand up, my leg hurts terribly," I replied. "Then you've broken it, my boy," said Elzevir sadly, looking at my left leg. "We have a quarter of an hour before the soldiers can get down to this side of the cliff. Listen carefully, John. With your broken leg, we can do one of two things. We can wait for the soldiers to come and take us to prison, or we can try to escape to a secret hiding place called Joseph's Pit." "How can I escape? My leg's broken and I can't walk," I said weakly. "I'll carry you, John. There's a difficult, narrow path along this cliff. It's called the zigzag. Few men know about it, and even fewer men can walk on it because it's very steep and dangerous. If you fall from the zigzag, you're a dead man because below you there's only the sea and the rocks. It's better to die on the rocks or in the sea than to go to prison," I said. "Let's go, Elzevir." "The soldiers will never follow us on the zigzag," said Elzevir, looking up at the soldiers. Elzevir picked me up and we started walking. I understood his courage and his love for me. "Remember, John, don't look down," he said. "Just shut your eyes." The path was difficult and dangerous. I was terribly frightened, and I often shut my eyes because I didn't want to see where we were going. Too many things had gone wrong in the last few days. We lost the Why Not Inn. The soldiers found out about our smuggling, and I broke my leg. And now we were looking for a place to hide. Why did Elzevir and I have all of this bad luck? At a certain point, Elzevir said, "Let's stop here for a few minutes. I need to rest. I'm not a young man anymore. Joseph's Pit is the perfect place for us, because you must rest your leg a long time before you can walk again." "Thank you, Elzevir," I said, trying to smile. My leg hurt terribly, but I did not complain. We were soon moving again, and Elzevir's strength amazed me. We finally reached the secret hiding place by evening, and we were both very tired. "Here we are," said Elzevir. "This is Joseph's Pit. It's a big cave near the sea and will be comfortable. No one can find us here." I looked around and saw that there was an opening at the far end of the cave. I felt the fresh sea air and was happy to be there. Elzevir gave me some water to drink, and I fell asleep on a bed of sand. I was very ill with a high fever for many days, and he looked after me like a mother looks after her child. At night, he went to find food, and during the day, he never left me alone. He was able to tell Ratsy where we were, and Ratsy often brought us food, which he left at an old house nearby. Ratsy was a real friend, and he helped us as much as he could. "Well, John, When your leg gets better, we have to leave England and take a ship to France, said Elzevir one evening. We'll stay there until the soldiers stop looking for us. Then we can return. Mr. Aidan.ire. By the middle of May, my leg was getting better. One night when Elzevir was away looking for a ship to take us to France, Ratsy came to the cave and talked to me. I've got bad news, John, he said, pulling a piece of paper out of his pocket. Read this. The king's soldiers are still looking for you and Elzevir. Now there's a price on your heads, £50 for Elzevir and £20 for you. They think Elzevir killed Maskew. You're both in big trouble. Elzevir went out to look for a ship to take us to France, I said. Good, I'm glad, said Ratsy. Stay away from England until things are quiet. I hope he finds a ship tonight, I said. Ratsy left the cave and I was alone and worried. There was a big storm outside. For some strange reason, I started touching the locket around my neck and opened it. I took out Blackbeard's piece of paper and started reading it. There were words from the Bible, so I opened my little red Bible and found them. But there were some mistakes. Blackbeard had written 2 numbers before the words each time, but only the first number was right. What did the second number mean? Was it a riddle? Could I solve it? I read the numbers and the words many times. Perhaps the second numbers hid Blackbeard's secret. And I was right. I soon solved the riddle and discovered Blackbeard's secret. The number 4 meant the 4th word, and I found 5 of them. 80 feet deep. Well, north. What did these words mean? They went around in my head as the wind blew outside, and I fell asleep. The next morning, I woke up and saw Elzevir. I was very excited and told him how I discovered Blackbeard's secret. He listened carefully and looked at the notes. Now he was excited too. Yes, he cried. You're a clever boy, John. The well that Blackbeard mentions is the famous well at Carisbrooke Castle. It's one of the deepest wells in England. People come from London to see it. Blackbeard probably hid the diamond 80 feet deep in the well. Carisbrooke. That's the castle where King Charles I was a prisoner during the Civil War, I said. I'm sure it's the well at Carisbrooke Castle. I know Carisbrooke Castle very well. It's about 2 miles from Newport on the Isle of Wight. We can stay at the Bugle Inn, where smugglers are welcome. Elzevir's eyes shone with excitement. Another week passed, and I started walking around the cave slowly. I was getting stronger every day. Elzevir went to meet Ratsy one night and came back with clothes and a whip. They were the clothes of a carter. There were 2 white jackets, 2 hats, and carter's trousers. With these clothes, no one could recognize us. Your leg is much better now, John, and we can leave in 2 days, said Elzevir. The Bonaventure will come and we can go on board at night. I immediately thought about Grace because I wanted to see her before leaving, but I didn't want to tell Elzevir. Can I go back to Moonfleet before leaving for Carisbrooke? I'd like to see my old village one last time because I love it. Elzevir smiled and asked, Do you love the village or someone in the village? My face became red and I said, I love Grace Maskew. Elzevir was silent at first and then said, She's a good girl, and I'm glad I didn't kill her father. You can go and see her, but wear the Carter's clothes and be very careful. I'll wait for you here. Be back by midnight." It was dark when I left the cave, and I walked all night until I got to Moonfleet the next morning. I went to Grace's house and knocked on the door, hoping she was alone at home. When Grace opened the door, she did not recognize me in the Carter's clothes. "Grace," I said softly. "It's me, John Trenchard. Are you alone at home?" "John!" she exclaimed. "Come in." She put her hand in mine and smiled at me. Grace wore black clothes now because her father was dead, and she had a thin, pale face. I loved her very much. "Let's go outside and sit in the garden," she said warmly. I explained everything that had happened to me. I told her about the last minutes before her father's death, and she cried, but she was not angry with me. Then I showed her Blackbeard's locket, and she read the writing inside. I told her about the diamond and how I wanted to find it and become the richest man in Moonfleet. Before I left, Grace said, "John, I have kept a candle burning in the window every night in the past. I'll keep it there, and I'll always think of you until you come back. Be careful. Remember that Blackbeard's diamond is evil, and it has a curse on it. If you find it, use it to help the poor." We kissed, and then I left. I returned to the cave at midnight and quickly fell asleep. Aboard the Bonaventure, and we left the Dorset coast for the Isle of Wight. Early in the morning, we were already walking in the streets of Newport and soon found the Bugle Inn. The owner of the inn remembered Elzevir and was very kind to us. He gave us a big, clean, sunny room and lots of good food. Elzevir was a prince among the smugglers. Next night, Elzevir and I went aboard the Bow. He was out most of the day getting information about Carisbrooke Castle, which was now used as a prison for French prisoners. I remained at the inn and waited for him. He was a clever man and made friends with the guards of the prison. He entered the castle a few times and saw the well. "I wanted to get to the well without telling the man who looks after it," Elzevir said. "But it's impossible, because I need his help. I don't trust him, but I had to tell him about the treasure in the well. He said he'll help us if we give him some money." "When are we going to see the well?" I asked. "Tomorrow morning at 6, said Elzevir. The next morning, we left the Bugle Inn before 6 and walked to the castle. It was a hot, rainy July morning, and we got wet. The man who let us in was big and tall and about 30 years old. He had black hair, and I didn't like his eyes. He took us through many rooms, and we finally got to the well. "Who is going down into the well?" asked the man. "I am," said Elzevir, holding a long rope. "1. "No, Elzevir," I said. "Let me go. I'm smaller and lighter. Please." "All right, John, go on, but be very careful and don't look down," said Elzevir. "You can't trust a boy down there," said the man, looking at the well. "John isn't a boy, he's a man, and I trust him," said Elzevir. I got into the wooden bucket, and Elzevir tied an 80-foot rope to it. He and the man lowered me gently into the well. As I went down, it became darker and colder. I had a candle to help me see the wall. At the end of the rope, I started looking around. I moved my candle along the wall to see if there was a hole or a hiding place, but I couldn't see anything. "Have you found anything?" the man shouted. No, nothing, I shouted back. Then the bucket moved down a little and I continued looking. Suddenly, I saw the letter Y clearly marked on a stone of the well. It was the symbol of the Mohunes. I moved the stone a bit with my hand and then pulled on it. It came out of the wall and I saw a small hole. I put my fingers into the hole and pulled out a tiny bag. I opened the bag slowly and found a diamond as big as a walnut. It was Blackbeard's diamond. I had never seen a diamond before, and I turned it between my fingers. It was beautiful. "What are you doing?" shouted the man. "Have you found something?" "Yes," I shouted. "I've found the diamond. Pull me up." They pulled me up quickly, and at the top of the well, I saw the man's face. "Give me the diamond. Put it in my hand." "No," I said. "Let me get out of the bucket first." "Let the boy get out of the bucket," said Elzevir angrily. I climbed out of the bucket with the diamond in my hand. "Give me the diamond," cried the man. "You found it in my well, so the diamond is mine." Then he turned to Elzevir and said, "I know who you are. Your name is Block, and there's a price of 50 pounds on your head." Ridin, dart ear, I quickly put the diamond into my pocket. "Careful, Elzevir," I cried. "He's got a gun." The two men started fighting, and although Elzevir was older, he was much stronger. As they fought, the man slipped on the wet stones and fell into the well, screaming. We heard a loud noise when he got to the bottom. Elzevir was sad because he did not want to kill him. I started thinking of Grace's words. The diamond is evil. It has a curse on it. I looked at Elzevir and said, "Let's throw the diamond back into the well. It's evil, and it has a curse on it." Elzevir thought for a moment, and then said, No, you're good and honest, John. Give me the diamond, and I'll keep it for you. You know you can trust me." I gave it to him. When we got back to the Bugle, I went upstairs and lay down on the bed, trying to rest and think. Elzevir was downstairs talking to the owner of the inn. When he came upstairs, he said, "It's dangerous for us to stay here, John. There's a Dutch ship leaving for Holland tonight. The owner of the Bugle knows the captain and he'll take us. The city of The Hague is the most important market in the world for diamonds." So a few days later, we arrived in the port of Scheveningen and stayed in a small inn with some sailors. One night, Elzevir pulled the little bag with the diamond out of his pocket and said, "Here, John, you keep it, it's yours. Remember, if you become rich because of this diamond, use the money to rebuild the poorhouses in Moonfleet. That's what Blackbeard wanted to do with it." I put the diamond in the locket around my neck because it was the safest place. When I was alone, I often opened the locket and looked at the beautiful diamond and dreamt of becoming rich and marrying Grace. But then, I always remembered Elzevir's words. Since Elzevir's mother was Dutch, he could speak that language quite well, and he asked around about diamond dealers. 1. He learned that most of the diamond dealers lived in one part of town, and the best one was Crispijn Aldobrand. He was rich, he was a good dealer, and asked few questions. He was the right man for us. One evening late in the summer, we went to Aldobrand's house before sunset. It was a small, white house with green shutters, one and a little garden in front of it. He lived in this neighborhood with several other jewelers, but they had no shops. They usually had a sign above their door saying that they bought and sold jewels. A little old man with white hair and a white beard opened the door. He was at least 70. "Well, gentlemen, what do you want to sell?" he asked us in English. "Please remember that I buy only good diamonds, no toys." Elzevir answered, "This boy has a diamond to sell." I had the diamond in my hand and gave it to him. He looked at it carefully and brought it close to his eyes. Suddenly his face and his voice changed. His eyes shone as he looked at the diamond. "It's too dark here. I need more light," he said. "Follow me." He went upstairs and we followed him closely because he had the diamond in his hand. He went into a room with a big window, a small balcony, and cupboards and shelves. There were small black boxes and books on the shelves. He sat at a small table and looked at the diamond. Then he held it up against the light of the window. He looked at me excitedly and said, "What's your name, young man? Where do you come from?" "My name's John Trenchard, sir, and I come from Moonfleet, in Dorset." He wrote this down in a big book. Elzevir looked at me angrily, and I immediately understood. Why did I give that man my name? I didn't know that this was going to change my life. "How did you get this diamond?" asked Aldobrand, touching it with his finger. "We're not here to answer questions," said Elzevir angrily. "We came here to sell a good diamond. We're honest Englishmen. Do you want to buy it?" "Well, I must test it before I decide to buy it," said Aldobrand. He opened a cupboard and took out a bottle of green liquid, some scales, and a black stone. He weighed the diamond, rubbed to it against the black stone, and then put a drop of green liquid on it. As I waited for Aldobrand's decision, I stood on the balcony and looked at the small garden with tall red flowers and a pear tree. "How much money is the diamond worth?" I thought excitedly. 10,000 pounds or 50,000, or perhaps 100,000. Suddenly, Aldobrand turned around and said, "Gentlemen, this diamond is not a diamond. It's only a pretty piece of glass. It didn't pass any of the tests. First, it's too light a diamond is heavier. Second, it didn't make a white line on the black stone, and the green liquid did not become orange when it touched the diamond." "What?" said Elzevir, who was very disappointed. I can't believe it." "But I can give you 10 pounds for it," said Aldobrand, looking at us carefully. 10 pounds! cried Elzevir angrily. "We don't need 10 pounds. This diamond has a curse on it." He took the diamond and threw it out of the window into the garden. Aldobrand stood up and cried, "You fool! Why did you throw it out of the window?" Elzevir took my arm and pulled me out of the room and down the stairs. He was very angry as we walked back to our inn. "Leave that diamond alone, John. It's cursed. It has brought us bad luck." "No, Elzevir, the diamond is ours," I said. "And it's not a piece of glass. We were fools to believe Aldobrand. I saw his face and his eyes when he looked at the diamond. He knew it was a precious diamond. We must go back to Aldobrand's garden and find it. I saw it fall near one of the tall red flowers. I can find it. I'm sure I can, Elzevir." "No, John, listen to me," said Elzevir. That diamond's cursed and it will bring us more bad luck. Forget it. Please, Elzevir, I said excitedly. Let's go to Aldobrand's garden tonight and I'll find the diamond. I don't know, John, he replied. Elzevir finally agreed with me, and that night we went back to Aldobrand's house. Everything was dark and silent, and we saw only one light in Aldobrand's upstairs room. We climbed over the garden wall quietly, and I started looking for the diamond near the tall red flowers. But it was gone. Aldobrand's already found it, I said softly. He knows it's not a piece of glass. Now I'm going to climb on the pear tree and look inside his room. I'll follow you, said Elzevir. But be careful, John. Don't worry, I said excitedly. I climbed up to the balcony and saw Aldobrand sitting at his table looking at my diamond. I was very angry because Aldobrand had stolen it. Without waiting to ask Elzevir what to do, I jumped through the window and into the room and put my hand on the diamond. Elzevir was behind me. Aldobrand screamed, "Thieves! Thieves! Help!" Suddenly 6 big men who were Aldobrand's servants came into the room and hit us with sticks. I fell to the floor. I saw Elzevir fighting bravely, but then he fell too. Elzevir and I were taken to prison, a horrible Dutch prison. During the trial 1, we told our story to the judge, but he did not believe us. He believed Aldobrand, who told a very clever story. These Englishmen jumped through the window of my room and wanted to steal one of my precious diamonds, said Aldobrand, looking at the judge. Liar! Thief! Shouted Elzevir. That diamond was ours, not his. He's a liar and a thief. The judge turned to us and said, You 2 will spend your life in prison for this crime. Elzevir did not complain, but I was furious. All of my life in prison, I thought. I'm just a boy and now I'm ruined. Was Blackbeard's diamond really cursed? As we were walking out, I looked at Aldobrand and said, Good day, Mr. Aldobrand, liar and thief. That diamond will bring you only evil in this life and in the next. Elzevir and I were soon separated, and I rarely saw him. The prison was cold, dark, and dirty, and there was only bread and water to eat. Every day the prisoners had to work hard to build a big fort nearby, and that is what we did for 10 years. These were long, difficult years without a moment of rest or happiness. Then one morning, when I was a man of 26, a guard said to us, You're leaving Holland and you're going to Java to work on the Dutch sugar farms. Is this my future working and dying on a sugar farm in Java? I thought angrily. I'll never see Grace or Moonfleet again. Blackbeard's diamond was cursed. That morning I saw Elzevir, whose hair was now white. We were very happy to see each other. He was going to Java too, on the ship called the Aurangzebe. We left Holland with bad weather and it got worse every day. After a week, there was a big storm at sea, with tall waves, strong winds, and rain. As Elzevir and I looked towards the shore, we suddenly understood where we were. We couldn't believe our eyes. Moonfleet Bay. Soon the ship started sinking. The prisoners and the guards were terrified because they knew nothing about a storm at sea. But Elzevir, who had lived his life on the sea, tried to help them. Don't take the lifeboats, he cried. You'll never get to shore. Stay on the ship until she gets to the bay near the beach, and then jump. Listen to me, I was born here. I've seen hundreds of storms in Moonfleet Bay, but no one listened to Elzevir. Everyone tried to get into the lifeboats, and they all died in the rough sea. Elzevir and I stayed on the ship until the last minute. "John, listen to me," he said loudly. "Jump when I tell you. The men on the beach will throw us a rope, and we must catch it before another big wave comes. Remember, the big waves are dangerous because they'll pull you back into the sea. Goodbye, John, and God save us both." I held his big hand and waited to hear the word, "Jump." "Jump, now!" he shouted suddenly. We jumped into the rough, cold sea, and we could see the men on the beach with the ropes. I was very cold and weak. Elzevir caught one end of a rope and said, "Take this rope." He pushed me onto the beach with his strong hands. He saved my life. Then I heard a big wave coming behind me, but I couldn't turn around. A minute later, I was lying on the beach and I was shaking with cold. A crowd of men and women stood around me, but I couldn't speak. I remember that some men put warm blankets around me and carried me to a fire where I fell asleep. Was this all true? I thought as I woke up. Am I in Moonfleet and a free man now? I was lying on the wooden floor of the Why Not Inn, and I heard a voice say, "Elzevir." "Elzevir," I said. "Where is Elzevir?" "Who's asking about Elzevir?" said a voice I knew. It was Ratsy's. "Don't you remember me, Ratsy?" I said, sitting up and looking at him. "I'm John Trenchard, who left Moonfleet long ago. Where is Elzevir?" Ratsy's face became white when he saw me, and then he came to me and shook my hand warmly. He asked me many questions, but I wanted to know about Elzevir. Ratsy spoke very softly and said, "You're the only person we found on the beach." "That's not true," I cried. "Elzevir was close to the beach when he gave me the rope and pushed me forward." "Yes, he saved your life, John," said Ratsy, "but a big wave got him and pulled him back into the sea." "No, no," I cried in despair. "He saved me, but he didn't save himself. Oh dear Elzevir, I won't see his face or hear his kind voice anymore. I loved him like a father." Ear. It was almost morning, and I put a blanket around my shoulders and went back to the beach. I wanted to find Elzevir's body. There was no sign of the Aurangzebe, but its wreckage was all over the beach. Ratsy came to the beach too and sat next to me. "Eat this bread and meat, John," he said kindly. I wasn't hungry, but ate the food slowly, looking at the sea. Then suddenly I felt strange. Elzevir is coming, I thought. I can feel it. The waves were bringing his body to the beach, and I ran towards it, with Ratsy following me. I knelt down by his body and touched his face and hair, then I kissed his cold cheek. The men from Moonfleet who knew him came to the beach and carried him back to the Why Not Inn. There they laid his body on the long table. I sat next to Elzevir's body for many hours, and many memories came to my mind. Then I started thinking, I have lost my only friend. What can I do now? Where can I go? I felt lost and terribly sad. Then someone touched my shoulder. I turned around and saw a tall, beautiful woman standing behind me. It was Grace Maskew. "John," she said, "have you forgotten me? Didn't you see the light at my window?" I could not speak. "I'm very sorry about Elzevir," she said. "I know he was a brave man with a kind heart, but do you still love me, John?" I took her hand and said, "Dear Grace, of course I still love you. I've always loved you're a noble lady, you. But many things have changed, and I'm a very poor, unlucky man." I told her about the diamond and about my 10 years in prison. "John, please don't talk about money," she said. "There are more important things in life. Forget Blackbeard's diamond. It was evil." Grace and I talked for a long time, and then she left. Shortly after, Mr. Glennie, my old teacher, came to see me. He took out his prayer book and said some prayers for Elzevir. Then he took a piece of blue paper from his pocket. It was a letter from Crispijn Aldebrand's lawyer in Holland. It had arrived 8 years before when I was in prison. The long letter said that before dying, Aldebrand wrote a will and left all of his money to John Trenchard of Moonfleet. He explained that the diamond was real and that he had stolen it from me and Elzevir, and now he was very sorry. The diamond had brought him a lot of bad luck. "Well, John, you're a very lucky young man," said Mr. Glennie, smiling. "There's no longer a price on your head, so you're a free man. And you're a very rich man, too, with all of Aldebrand's money." I was very surprised and did not know what to say. Suddenly, I wasn't poor anymore. How strange life is. Mr. Glennie and I talked about Aldebrand's will until midnight, and then he left. I spent the night next to my great friend, Elzevir. This is the end of my story. I received all of Aldebrand's money, but I did not keep it for myself. With Mr. Glennie's and Grace's help, I rebuilt and opened the poorhouses, and built a new hospital and new homes for the people of Moonfleet. Part of the money was used to improve the church and the school, too. I became an important person in my village. Grace and I got married, and the old Mahoney mansion became a beautiful home again. We have 3 lovely children, Elzevir, Grace, and John. We live happily in Moonfleet and never leave it. When there is a bad storm, I run down to the beach with the others and try to help the men at sea. Sometimes we cannot help them and we see them die. And each time I stand on the beach with a rope in my hand, I remember dear Elzevir and how he saved my life. He was very sorry. The diamond had brought him a lot of bad luck. "Well, John, you're a very lucky young man," said Mr. Glennie, smiling. "There's no longer a price on your head, so you're a free man. And you're a very rich man, too, with all of Aldebrand's money." I was very surprised and did not know what to say. Suddenly, I wasn't poor anymore. How strange life is. Mr. Glennie and I talked about Aldebrand's will until midnight, and then he left. I spent the night next to my great friend Elzevir. This is the end of my story. I received all of Aldebrand's money, but I did not keep it for myself. With Mr. Glennie's and Grace's help, I rebuilt and opened the poorhouses and built a new hospital and new homes for the people of Moonfleet. Part of the money was used to improve the church and the school, too. I became an important person in my village. Grace and I got married, and the old Mahoney mansion became a beautiful home again. We have 3 lovely children, Elzevir, Grace, and John. We live happily in Moonfleet and never leave it. When there is a bad storm, I run down to the beach with the others and try to help the men at sea. Sometimes we cannot help them and we see them die. And each time I stand on the beach with a rope in my hand, I remember dear Elzevir and how he saved my life.